When King Midas turned his daughter to gold, he chose power over love. He had everything a man could want: a kingdom bathed in riches, armies that obeyed his word, and a daughter who adored him. But none of it was ever enough. King Midas wanted more, not just wealth, but permanence, glory, the kind that would outlive time. And when a shadowed figure offered him the power to turn everything he touched into gold, he didn't hesitate. He reached out and sealed his fate. They say wishes come true, but they never say what happens after. What would you do if the price of greatness was the one thing that made you human? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Your support keeps this kingdom of stories alive. This is not the tale of a greedy king. This is the story of a father who touched divinity and lost everything real. A man who learned too late that gold cannot love you back. As the light fades in the throne room and a golden statue watches in silence, we ask, what happens when power becomes a prison? Let's return to the moment before it all began, when Midas was still just a man reaching for more. The people of Phrygia sang of their golden king, but Midas never listened to songs. He sat alone in his throne room, cloaked in silence, eyes fixed on the horizon where the sun melted into the earth. Behind those eyes brewed a hunger not for wealth, but for permanence. Everything around him would crumble: his palace, his victories, even the love of his people. He wanted more than admiration. He wanted to outlive time. Statues could be toppled and scrolls could burn. But gold endured. While his court drank and celebrated conquests, Midas spent his nights walking alone among vaults of treasure, each coin a heartbeat closer to eternity. He wasn't born greedy. In his youth, he fought wars not for gold, but to unify scattered lands. His people once called him the Builder King, but victories faded, and with peace came silence. It was in that silence that he first heard whispers, not from men, but from within. Whispers that asked, what will remain when they forget your name? It was then that Midas stopped sleeping. He began seeking answers in ancient texts and forbidden myths. Something changed in his eyes. Elia, his daughter, noticed it before anyone. She saw the king grow colder, his touch distant. One night, during a rare eclipse, the palace trembled with windless force. From the shadows emerged a cloaked figure, neither man nor spirit. It offered no name, no reason for its visit, only a gift. You seek permanence, it said, so take it. Let all you touch become gold. Midas asked no questions. He did not ask what it would cost, nor if it could be undone. He only asked, will it last forever? The figure smiled and vanished into shadow, leaving behind a single golden feather and a choice already made. Midas stared at his own hand for hours after, trembling. The next morning, he tested it, first on a rose. It turned to gold instantly, petals frozen mid-bloom, then a fruit, then a goblet, then the marble floor beneath his feet. Each time, Midas laughed louder, echoing through empty halls. Servants watched in awe and dread as their king transformed the world with his fingertips. His council warned him. The priests begged him. Elia wept quietly in the garden, where nothing grew anymore. But Midas only saw the legacy he had carved. Gold was pure. Gold was eternal. Finally, he whispered to himself, the gods have answered. But the gods don't give gifts. They set traps. And as Midas walked through his gleaming kingdom, he didn't notice that the laughter of children had stopped. The wells had run dry. Birds avoided the palace towers. Even time itself seemed heavier, slower, as if mourning something lost. Elia tried once more to reach him, offering a carved wooden box they had made together years ago. He touched it lovingly. It turned to gold in her hands. And though she didn't speak, her eyes said everything. You're turning even our memories to metal. Midas smiled, blind to the warning. The Golden Age began with trumpets and feasts. Foreign envoys came to marvel at the miracle of Midas's kingdom, where fountains gushed molten gold and trees shimmered with metallic leaves. Every object in his path became treasure, but with every feast, fewer guests returned. The bread turned brittle. The wine thickened like syrup. The air itself grew dry. Farmers abandoned the fields, their tools gleaming but useless. The golden soil bore no life. Yet Midas beamed with pride. He walked barefoot through corridors of gold, calling them corridors of memory. His vision had manifested, but outside the palace walls, hunger spread. Elia, once the joy of the court, became a ghost. She no longer sang in the garden or danced in the hallways. She watched as her toys turned cold, her pets vanished, and the palace grew quieter by the day. Her father was no longer the man who carried her on his shoulders to show her the stars. He was a monument now, unmoving, untouchable, worshipped, and feared. One morning, she brought him a warm loaf of bread and placed it in his hands, hoping he would break it and eat beside her. It turned to gold instantly. She looked up. He didn't even notice. That evening, Elia entered the throne room, where Midas stood in silence before a new statue, a golden lion captured mid-roar. "Father," she whispered, "you're losing everything." He turned slowly. "No," he said, "I'm saving it. Forever." She reached out and placed her hand on his arm, pleading without words. For a second, he hesitated. Then, as if in reflex, he hugged her. The contact was brief, but it was enough. Her body stiffened, her eyes widened. A soundless gasp escaped her lips as her skin shimmered, then froze, then glowed. In seconds, she was gold, solid, beautiful, dead. Midas froze, arms still around her. At first, he didn't speak. He simply blinked. Then he began whispering, "No, no, no." Again and again, voice growing louder, more fractured. Servants entered, dropped to their knees, some weeping, others fleeing. But Midas clung to the golden figure, still warm from her last breath. "I can fix this," he muttered. "I can fix this." He ordered the palace sealed. Priests were summoned, alchemists consulted, ancient scrolls unrolled. None could help. No one dared touch the girl. She stood beside the throne now, a monument to ambition. And still, Midas refused to cry. But late at night, alone, he sat beside her and held her golden hand. "You were the last thing I hadn't touched," he said. "And now you'll never fade." His voice cracked, but still no tears. He ordered the statue placed on a platform above his throne, illuminated by sunlight each morning. To his people, it was a shrine. To Midas, it was hope. He believed the power that gave him this gift could take it back. "I will undo it," he swore, "even if it costs me everything else." And so began to descend into madness, cloaked in gold. Driven by desperation, Midas ventured beyond the boundaries of his golden empire. Disguised in a tattered cloak, he walked through towns he once ruled, now desolate and starving. The touch of gold had spread far, rivers hardened, forests petrified. He searched for the figure who had gifted him the power, whispering its name in dreams. One night, in the ruins of an abandoned temple, he found a message etched in the stone. The price cannot be returned, but it can be passed. Beneath it, a bowl of black sand pulsed faintly with heat. Midas didn't understand. Or perhaps he did, and refused to believe it. He returned to the palace with new obsession, transference. If the gift could be passed, then so could the curse. He summoned animals, objects, even prisoners, touching each one, hoping something would draw the golden power away from Elia. Nothing worked. The girl remained frozen. But one evening, as he lay beside her statue, he heard it. A faint sound. Not breath, but movement. Her eyes, golden and lifeless, shifted. Only slightly, like glass catching candlelight. "Elia?" he whispered. She didn't respond, but he swore he saw her fingers twitch. Hope twisted into horror. She wasn't dead. She was trapped inside. Midas collapsed, crawling away from her pedestal. The realization devoured him. His daughter was alive, aware, imprisoned in a metal tomb of his own making. He screamed, roared, begged the gods to kill him. But no god came, only silence, and then the voice. It wasn't Elia's. It was deeper, layered, like many voices speaking at once. It echoed from the throne itself. "You still cling to it. Release it, and she may be freed." Midas knew what it meant. The gift could be undone, but only if he let go of everything. His power, his gold, his legacy. He stood in the vaults of his palace, torches flickering across walls of wealth. All of it, Every coin, statue, weapon carried his touch. He ordered the pyres built. He began melting his own kingdom down. Servants rebelled. Generals fled. "He's mad," they cried. "He's burning the future." But Midas didn't listen. He worked until his hands bled. Day after day, he poured molten gold into the earth, hoping it would erase the curse. Still, Elia remained stone. Still, the voice whispered, "Not enough?" Midas realized the final price had not been paid. The gold lived in him now. He felt his knees before Eliah's statue. "Take me," he whispered. "Let me be the statue. Let her be free." But the voice said nothing, only silence and the ticking echo of dripping metal. Midas reached for the last untouched piece of his palace, the scepter he'd held since the beginning. He raised it slowly. The voice returned, "You know the cost." Midas hesitated. One more choice. One final chance. His hand trembled in the air, and then a scream echoed through the palace. Not his, but Eliah's. The statue's mouth had opened. She was awake and screaming in terror. Eliah's scream shattered the silence like thunder in a chapel. Midas stumbled backward, eyes wide in disbelief. Her mouth had moved. Her voice had pierced through gold. "Father," she whimpered, but her body remained frozen. Her eyes, those golden eyes, pleaded. She was still trapped. He dropped the scepter, its clang echoing like a sentence passed. The voice returned. "She will live when you let go of your kingdom." And this time, Midas understood fully. Not just the palace, not just the gold, everything. His name, his power, the myth. He couldn't merely destroy the gold. He had to erase himself from it. He ordered every record of his reign burned. Statues melted. Coins dissolved. The royal sigil unmarked. He stepped down from the throne, stripped himself of jewels and robes, and disappeared from public life. Those who once worshipped him cursed his name. Some said he'd lost his mind. Others whispered he was dead. But in a small cavern beneath the palace, by the last flickering torch, Midas remained. Each night, he returned to Eliah's side. Her screams had faded into whispers, then into silence again. Her eyes stopped moving. The weight of failure crushed him, but he waited. He had nothing else. Years passed. Seasons died and returned. The palace above crumbled. Vines consumed the walls. No one remembered the golden age. No one sang of the king. And still, he waited, older, thinner, fragile. One night, as the last ember faded, Midas reached for Eliah's face. His hand shook. "This is my final gift," he said. "You may forget me, but you'll be free." With no gold left in the world, only the trace in his soul remained. And when he touched her one last time, gently, with no demand, her skin began to soften. Her body warmed. Her breath returned. Elia gasped, coughing, collapsing into his arms. She was alive. Flesh. Human. Her eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, she didn't recognize him. "Who?" she asked. "Your father," he whispered, tears finally falling. She held him. "You're warm," she said. He smiled, but then, slowly his skin dulled. His hair grayed like ash. His heart began to still. Midas was fading, not turning to gold, but vanishing from memory itself. That had been the price. As Elia sobbed, the voice returned one last time. "You chose love over legacy." And then, even the memory of the voice disappeared. Elia lived. She rebuilt nothing. No statues, no kingdoms, no shrines. But every spring, she placed a single flower, never gold, on the stone where the cavern once stood. The world never remembered Midas. No songs, no scrolls. But in the silence of one daughter's heart, the echo of a king's final touch remained. One that freed, not bound. And though history forgot him, love did not. That, in the end, was the only kind of gold that never fades.